Salama. Welcome to the channel, all my Hebrew family. This is Judah the Hebrew. The question has come to my attention more than a few times. Can we keep the Sabbath in captivity? I can understand why a lot of people are confused or perplexed with this question. But I'm going to tell you without any doubt, yes, we can and we should keep the Sabbath, even in captivity. So today I'm going to try and kill two birds with one stone. I'm going to try to answer your question as effectively as I can about this question: can we keep the Sabbath in captivity? Another question that keeps popping up is, how do we observe the new moon and keep the seventh-day Sabbath? I'm going to have to go real slow with this because some of the things that are confusing the people is easily understood. I go over it and I can see. I got tripped up when I first caught on to this. I got tripped up in it, so I do understand. The problem that I see a lot is people reluctant to accept the truth. Maybe it's because they don't really understand, or it's too strange, or maybe it's outside of their realm of perception. I don't know which one it is. But the enemy is behind the whole thing, and this is exactly what they wanted to do. Because as long as they keep us confused, especially with the things that matters the most to us, as long as they can keep us in the dark, we don't stand a chance. So I'm going to try and attempt to make this as clear as I possibly can, as honestly as I can. But now you're going to have to use common sense. You're going to have to jump out of the box and use your common sense. The Sabbath can be kept even in captivity, as evidenced by the fact that the Hebrews maintained their identity. These are the words I need y'all to grab a hold to, because if you don't watch these words, they're not there for no reason. They're there for a reason. And if you don't pay attention and they go over your head, you leave with no understanding. So please, make sure, if you have to listen to this over and over and write down each word and go look it up, do what it takes to get that understanding. Or as people say today, overstanding. So yeah, the Sabbath can be kept, even in captivity. And it's evidenced by the fact that the Hebrews maintained their identity. Now, let's take this word identity and show an example. This is the one way that you can prove that their ancient Israelites or ancient Hebrews kept the Sabbath. Because their identity was a pledge of allegiance to their Creator. All right, you know what that means? That pledge of allegiance gave them the identity of the Creator's chosen people. It was a binding contract. That's where they got their identity. That's the reason they're referred to as so-called God's chosen people. It's because of their identity, and it still exists today for those who keep the laws, statutes, and commandments. So it's words like these that I want you to pay attention to, because they're telling you a story. They're telling you a story, and you need to watch carefully so you can understand the story that's being told. The fact that the Hebrews maintained their identity and Sabbath observances despite being exiled. And even in exile, the Creator continued to remind the Israelites of their relationship with Him and the Sabbath. The observance of the Sabbath was a key element of the Hebrew identity. Keep that in mind. And its continuation, even in captivity, demonstrates the strength of that identity. The Creator continued to remind them through prophets like Ezekiel. Ezekiel continued to emphasize the importance of the Sabbath, even during captivity. So what are we talking about here? When Israel, or the ancient Hebrews, were in captivity, Ezekiel kept reminding them why and for what? To keep the Sabbath so they could fulfill their sentence for breaking the Sabbath in the first place. Jeremiah did the same thing. They were in captivity. So why would Ezekiel and Jeremiah remind them what got them there, if it wasn't to make them understand you need to fix this? You know, it's kind of like going to jail. You do a crime, you get caught, you go to jail, and you're supposed to get rehabilitated, right? But if you continue to repeat the same mistakes that got you in jail, you will stay in jail, right? But if you get rehabilitated, because now you're paying attention to whatever's being told to you, straighten this up, fix this. Once you fix this, we can set you free. But not until you learn a lesson. Same way about going to school. You don't pass from third grade to fourth grade till you pass the third grade test. I know a lot of my friends in my day, when I got to the fourth grade, fifth grade, they were still in the third. They didn't pass the test. So you gotta find a way to look at these situations, and the best way to do that is with context and common sense. So Ezekiel continued to emphasize the importance of the Sabbath even during the captivity. The prophecies in the Bible point to the Sabbath being kept in the future when the Creator's kingdom is established. The Sabbath is a gift. The Sabbath was not just a command, but a gift from our Creator to humanity. And its observance is a way to rest and enjoy His blessings. While the practicalities of Sabbath observance might differ in captivity today, and that's because of the lack of understanding or the lack of overstanding, the lack of concentration, the lack of common sense, and the lack of context. That's why. So it might differ in captivity today because of all those things that I just mentioned. The core principle of setting aside a day for rest and reflection with the Creator still remains. It has not changed, and it will not change. It doesn't matter where you go, what your situation is, unless you are physically prohibited or disabled, you have to keep the Sabbath. Now the question comes up, but how? Because see, there's a scripture in, I believe, Deuteronomy that has people confused because of sacrifice. I'm going to get to that in a minute. Let's just stick to the program. Did the ancient Israelites keep the Sabbath when the Creator allowed them to go into captivity? What does the Bible say about the lives of those punished for their sins in Babylon? In the Creator's Word, only 2 books. They are Daniel and Esther. Nothing is stated in the Old Testament as to whether what is known as the northern 10 tribes of Israel, known as the Kingdom of Israel, which also went into Assyrian captivity in 723 BC, whether they kept the Sabbath or not. The Bible does say that the complete rejection of the 4th commandment, or the Sabbath commandment, was the major cause of allowing his people to be conquered and taken into captivity by the king of Babylon, which began in 586 BC. The Creator, through the prophet Jeremiah chapter 17, warned the people of Jerusalem, Judah, and their kings that he, the Creator, would punish anyone breaking his holy Sabbath. The eternal Almighty Creator also stated through the prophet Ezekiel, while the ancient Israelites ultimately went into captivity. Listen, I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make him drink. If you don't see the sense in what I'm telling you right now, I can't do any more than what I'm doing right now. I can only bring you the water. You have to pick the glass up and drink yourself, okay? So I don't expect everybody to grasp this. One of the main reasons that I don't expect that is because it is also prophesied that 2/3 of our people are going to be destroyed. Now, the only reason that I could imagine them being destroyed is because they reject the truth. Maybe it's because it just don't make sense to them. Or maybe it's because they don't have eyes to see or ears to hear. That's not on me. I didn't close your eyes. I didn't close your ears. I'm simply trying to open both. And if it's not meant for you, if you've already been X'd out, what else can I do? So don't blame me. So the eternal Almighty Creator stated through the prophet Ezekiel, while the ancient Hebrews ultimately went into captivity. Instead, I warn the young people, the Creator's talking, the children of those who disobeyed the Creator after leaving Egypt and who died in the wilderness among them. Make the Sabbath a holy day so that it will be a sign of the covenant we made. And I will remind you that I am your Creator. The covenant is a contract. When you break the contract, you get penalized. That's in man's law right now today. It came from here. That law came from our book. And it's still practiced today. If you sign a contract with somebody, you are obligated to hold up your end. That's the whole point of a contract. And a covenant is a contract. But that generation also defied me. They broke my laws and did not keep my commands, which bring life to anyone who obeys them. So I made another vow in the desert. I vowed that I would scatter them all over the world. I did this because they had rejected my commands, broken my laws, and profaned my Sabbath. Go check out Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 18, verse 20, verse 21, verse 23, and verse 24. The prophet Daniel not only knew of, but also responded to Jeremiah's warning of breaking the Sabbath. Daniel chapter 9. Read the book. Since Daniel was considered by the Creator to be one of the most righteous people, that's in Ezekiel chapter 14, verse 14, he surely kept the Sabbath. Why wouldn't he? He kept the Sabbath while in captivity. If he's that righteous, and there is nobody pinning him down to the ground or to a tree, but giving him the freedom. And we all know Daniel was given a very high position in Babylon. And he kept the Sabbath. He wasn't the only one. So, Daniel surely kept the Sabbath day while in captivity, and he wasn't the only one. However, to heed the warnings of the Old Testament prophets, Nehemiah, a leader in Jerusalem of those who had come back from living as captives, stressed observing the Sabbath correctly in the 13th chapter of his book. He knew that the breaking of the fourth commandment played a role in the Hebrews being thrown out of the promised land. Nehemiah chapter 13, verse 15 to 18. Keeping the day of rest would have aided those in captivity. Let me say that again. Keeping the day of rest would have provided aid to those in captivity to maintain their identity as the Creator's people in the middle of a pagan people. In case you don't get that, let me break that down for you. When we practice the laws, statutes, and commandments of our Creator, we act accordingly. By doing that, we can separate ourselves even if we are in the midst of a nation of pagans. We can still separate ourselves, not just spiritually, but by our physical acts as well. Nobody has to ask, who is that? By your actions, they will know who you are. That's what we're saying here. Nehemiah, a leader in Jerusalem of those who had come back from living as captives, stressed observing the Sabbath correctly. In the 13th chapter of his book, he knew that the breaking of the fourth commandment played a role in the Israelites being thrown out of the promised land. Keeping the day of rest would have aided those in captivity to maintain their identity as the Creator's people in the middle of a pagan people. Those who disregarded the Creator's Sabbath, his law, lost their lifeline to the Creator and soon became caught up in the godless culture in which they lived. We see that today, y'all. We see how our people don't acknowledge the law. They don't understand community among the nation of Hebrews. It's like every man for himself. They have no respect for the elders. I mean, it's just gone, y'all. It's just gone. So those who disregarded the Creator's Sabbath lost their lifeline to the Creator and soon became caught up in the godless culture in which they live. They live like their enemy today. They want what their enemy has. They want to be like their enemy. They're even wearing their hair like their enemy. They're trying to lighten their skin like their enemy. They're going to churches that was established by their enemy. They want the finest car like their enemy. And I could go on. That's because they don't understand the book they say they read, and they form their own opinion. Thankfully, a few communities obedient to the Creator's way and to his Sabbath rest did form in the captive places the Israelites called home. A story is told, written before the 2nd century BC, about a man named Tobit, who encapsulated the values of faithful Israelites in foreign lands. He was one of the many who were taken into captivity by the Assyrian Empire, which took the northern 10 tribes of Israel out of Palestine. He kept the holy day, known as Pentecost, as part of his obedient lifestyle. While in a foreign land, don't tell me we can't keep the Sabbath. But there is one thing regarding the Sabbath that we can't keep, and I'll be getting to that in a little bit. So he kept the holy day known as Pentecost as part of his obedient lifestyle while in a foreign land. Ultimately, the fact that Israelites, the kingdom of Judah, as a whole, kept their identity even while living in foreign lands is likely the best evidence of keeping the Sabbath while in captivity. Now, while the Bible doesn't explicitly document Sabbath observance during the Babylonian exile, several pieces of evidence suggest that it was likely practiced by some of the Israelites. like today. We're trying to get it right. Others argue and debate with us, claiming that we're wrong and it's a bunch of crap. You can't do this, you can't do that. It's like there's this evil spirit that's entered into them, and now they're trying to pull us out of our allegiance and join them. Hey, if you feel froggy, jump. Me, I'm staying right here. Now, the prophet Jeremiah and Ezekiel, who lived during the period of exile, condemned Sabbath neglect as a contributing factor to the Babylonian captivity. Additionally, the book of Daniel, which recounts the experiences of the Israelites in Babylon, demonstrates the potential for maintaining religious practices like Sabbath observance in exile. The Sabbath is described as a perpetual covenant, not a temporary thing, not a conditional thing. And this is where a lot of our people are messing up, because they believe that because they're in captivity, there is a conditional exception. Where does the scripture say that? I see perpetual, which is everlasting, throughout their generations. Exodus 31, verse 16 to 17. I don't see any conditions. This verse emphasizes that the Sabbath observance is a permanent and lasting feature of the Creator's relationship with his people. The Sabbath is not just a day of rest, but a sacred day to be spent, listen, in worship and reverence. You can't do that in captivity? Come on, man, give me a break. Listen, the Sabbath is not just a day of rest, but a sacred day to be spent in worship and reverence. Don't tell me you can't do that in captivity. As well as a reminder of the Creator, creation, and rest. The Sabbath is a sign that identifies those who are the Creator's people and sets them apart from other nations. The Sabbath is described as a perpetual, everlasting covenant, not a conditional covenant. Everlasting, meaning it is a lasting agreement or promise between the Creator and his people. Okay? Now, that we got that out of the way, let's move on to how do we keep the Sabbath. We start out by first knowing the new moon. So here is what the new moon looks like. It is not a full moon. It is not a dark moon. It is a moon with a fine sliver on the edge. That is the moon increasing her light. When that light becomes full, it is the 15th day, the middle of the month. The 15th day of the new month that we refer to as the new moon. Now I'm going to show you step by step how you keep it, how you identify it, and how you count for your 7 days Sabbath per week. I need you to stay with me. This is your new moon. Here is the Creator's calendar. I want y'all to notice something. I want y'all to pay attention to the very far right side of this Creator's calendar. The new moon up at the top is the first day of the month. It doesn't matter if it's on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. It don't matter. What matters is the day you spot the new moon. It is establishing the countdown for your 7-day weeks, which is 4 weeks of 7. All right? Make sure you understand that. So, counting day 1, that is the new moon day. Now, the very next day is in physical the second day, but it counts as day 1. All right? If you understand that, the second day or the next day after the new moon shows up, the next day will be the second day, but it's the first day of the week. The first day of the month and the first day of the week are 2 different things. You have to understand that. There are 2 different things. Now, the second day is day 1. The third day is day 2. The fourth day is day 3. The fifth day is day 4. The sixth day is day 5. The seventh day is day 6. The eighth day is day 7. And it don't matter what the Gregorian days say, whether Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. It does not matter. You're not looking for names. You're looking for the number 7. It doesn't carry a name. And the way you get that number 7 is knowing how to start your count after the day of the new moon. That's how you get your 7th day, not your 7th Saturday, not your 7th Friday. It is your 7th day from the new moon. That's the part that confuses most people. Now, on this calendar, the 8th, now I want y'all to pay attention to the far right side. The 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th will never change its position on any of the 12 months. This line, this column right here, will never be over here. It will always be right here. Why? Because we're not counting Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday based on Gregorian. We are counting from the new moon. We have started our count the day after the new moon. So this, on this far right side, is always going to be 8, 15, 22nd, and 29th. And since there are 6 months with 29 days, and then there are 6 months with 30 days, there is never a month with 28 days. There is never a month with 31 days. I've heard women say things like they believe that the Creator adjusted their menstrual cycle based or according to the moon. Well, the calendar based on creation is every 29.5 days to 30. It's never 28. Now, what the Creator might have done was started your preparation for your menstrual every 28 days, but the calendar is not based on a 28-day cycle. There are 364 days of the year, not 365. So let's make sure we understand this calendar. So why do people think that they can't keep the Sabbath in captivity? Well, Deuteronomy chapter 12, verses 13. Now we're going to come back to this calendar in just a minute. Let's go through this. Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 13 to 14 emphasizes the importance of having one central place of worship for the Hebrews. So what am I talking about? This is probably one of the biggest reasons why our people don't believe that we can keep the Sabbath in captivity, because of this one restriction. And it's the only one. So let's check it out. It instructs them to only offer, listen up, to only offer their burnt offerings at the place the Creator will choose, and to obey all the commandments given there. What is that saying? There is a land that He will choose in a coming day. It's not here yet. That land is not chose yet, at least not for our sake. Not that we should know about this land. He's telling us, when you want to make your burnt offerings, it has to be done within a specific land. You can't just go throughout the world and create do a sacrifice. That's what the restriction is. It is not telling you that you cannot keep the Sabbath. It is telling you you can only make sacrifices to me in one particular place. That's the only restriction. So, this is the only restriction given concerning the Sabbath. We could not make sacrifices in any other land. He doesn't tell us not to keep the Sabbath. Remember, the Sabbath is permanent, perpetual. Here's the context. For 6 days, work may be done, but the seventh day is a Sabbath of complete rest, holy to the Father. Whoever does any work on the Sabbath day must surely be put to death. The Hebrews must keep the Sabbath. What? They must keep the Sabbath, celebrating it as a permanent covenant for the generations to come. It is a sign between me and you forever. Let me ask you a question. Are we still producing generations today? No doubt. Yes, we are. So, generations to come, how do you figure that we can stop or that we cannot keep the Sabbath? He said throughout all your generations. Permanent, perpetual, never stop, never everlasting. How do you get stop from that? Come on, just use your common sense. How do you get stop from continued? This is an everlasting covenant. Nothing cuts it off under no circumstances. Now, let's go to the calendar, because this is one of the biggest issues that I'm seeing among our people that are trying to understand how to do this. First of all, forget about trying to fit the days from the Gregorian calendar into this calendar. Let me tell you what I'm saying. Look at this calendar. I don't know if y'all can see this. The new moon, that's day one, right? Okay. Let me show you something. I can give you a better view. Okay. Right here, far right, upper right corner. That's new moon day. Far upper right corner. That's new moon day. So you have 1, 8, 15, 22, and 29. That is permanent. This right-hand column is never going to be over on the left side or the side next to the left or in the middle. It's always going to be right here on the right side. Now, let's leave the new moon day, which according to this is the first month calendar, right? This is a month of April. Now, you know what? Let me just go to the correct month. We're in May right now, all right? So this is May's calendar. You notice the column on the right is still the same. It did not change, although we have another month. So here is the problem that I truly believe our people are dealing with. While this is the month of May based on creation calendar, the Gregorian calendar on the second month is like this. All right? Where is the 8, the 1, 8, 15, 22, and 29? It's right here. It's not at the right column. This is the reason why you get confused about the days, because on the creation's calendar, the Sabbath would be on a Friday, okay? Based on the days of Gregorian, all right? For the sake of understanding, I'm using the name Friday. All right, so the first Sabbath will be on a Friday. All right, now let's go to Gregorian. Over here, where the right-hand column should be 1, 8, 15, 29, is 2 columns over toward the left. And look at it. 1, 8, 15, 22, and where is 29? See what I'm saying? And it's on a Thursday. But the true calendar, it's on a Friday. Now remember, don't take these names for absolute. I'm using the names of the days of the week, which are pagan gods. I'm using those to help you get my point. The creation calendar is not on Thursday, which is here. It's on Friday. So you see how we get lost? So if you following this calendar and your Sabbath is sundown to sundown, in other words, from Friday evening to Saturday evening, this is where you are. And even though on that same Gregorian calendar, the proper days, 1, 8, 15, 22, and 29, which is missing, are nowhere near your day of Sabbath. Nowhere near it. So you're off. Okay? So this is February on Gregorian. So let's do this. Now, we're in May. So let's go to May on the Gregorian. Okay? Here's May on the Gregorian. Remember just the past calendar, Gregorian calendar that I showed you, where was 1, 8, 15, 22, and 29? Remember, it was over here. See how the Gregorian is all over the place? Because it's not fixed. Here's the thing about the creation calendar. It's connected to nature and time and movement. The Gregorian calendar is fixed. So it rotates back and forth, all over the place. So this is the month of May. Let's look at the month of May on the creation calendar. We have the right column, 1, 8, 15, 22nd, and 29th on the far right side. On the Gregorian calendar, 1, 8, 15, 22nd, 29 is way over, just past the middle, going toward the left. This is an example of how far you're off from here to here. That's the gap. That's man-made. Let's look at this. Here we are. 1, 8, 15, 22, 29. It is all on the right side. This is the month of May. Now, Gregorian, same month. Look at the difference. Look at the difference. The days that are supposed to be on the right side are way over here going toward the left side. So I really hope y'all are getting this. All right? And it's this way all the way through. Now let's go to June of the creation calendar, which is the third month. This is the third month. Notice 1, 18, 15, 22, and 29 still on the right side. Let's go to the third month in Gregorian. Now, look where the 1, 8, 15, 22nd, and 29 is in June. Now, it's one column away from the right far side column. This is not how the creation calendar operates. This is the reason so many people are confused. So let me tell you this. You have to train yourself to be able to use Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday purely as a reference when you are speaking with someone else who's trying to understand the creation calendar. You cannot take these days as literal, documented facts relating to the creation calendar. I hope that makes sense. But look at the column, and it's on Friday. Where is it on the creation calendar? It's on Saturday. It's on Saturday. Now, based on the Gregorian, it would be June 29th if you're going by the Gregorian. You see what I'm saying? And before you even finish the month of June, you'll be going into the month of July. That's not supposed to happen. You're supposed to finish 1 month at a time. All right? So I don't know if I should keep going. I'm going to do one more because I really, really want y'all to understand what's causing the problem. So we're in June, the Creator's calendar. Let's go to July. Again, 1, 8, 15, 22nd, and 29. All right? On the right column. Let's look at July on the Gregorian. Now look where 1, 8, 15, 22nd, and 29th is. Look where it is now. Way over to the extreme left. It's supposed to be to the extreme right. So now the Gregorian is saying Sunday is the Sabbath. If you're keeping Gregorian, we're in July. Monday is the Sabbath. It don't matter if you're off by 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Being off is just being off. And being off is all it takes to put you in violation. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, you can't break some of the law and be okay. You know, when you break a little piece of the law, you broke the whole law. And that's what I'm trying to show you. So when I say that this calendar will never change, but this explains why each month, the day that we recognize as the Sabbath day appears to fall on one of the Gregorian pagan name days, such as, let's say, for example, Saturday. All right? Next month, based on how the Gregorian days go, because in order for us to keep up with our schedules that we live in today's time, we use the Gregorian calendar. So last month, let's say it was Saturday, and this month, it's Monday. So here's what's happening. The Creator's calendar is giving each day a chance to bask in His glory. This is why there is no fixed day. This is why the Creator didn't bother to name the days. This is why the Creator said day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, 6, and 7. He could have said Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on. He could have said that. But do you think there's a reason that He didn't? That's what you need to think about. It's not a coincidence that He did not call days by name. It's not a coincidence that He called these days by numbers. So, yeah, you can keep the Sabbath in captivity, but you cannot make sacrifices. The only way you will be permitted to make a sacrifice is if you were in the land that He chose to place His name. That's the only way. If you want to keep the correct Sabbath, you will have to learn how to distinguish from this calendar and this calendar. You see this side over here? This is supposed to be over here. If this was Gregorian, let me show you. 1, 8, 15, 22nd, 29. will be over here. This does not change. This calendar is connected to nature, just like the seasons change all throughout the year. So is this calendar moving right along with the seasons. This is the reason he says that the moon was for signs and seasons. So under no circumstances are we to cut the Sabbath off. I'm trying to think if there's anything I want to say before I sign off. Oh yeah, Monday. Monday is the Sabbath day this month. And when I say Monday, it is only in reference because who would know if I say Monday is the second day of the month? Who would know? Certainly not those that have not been taught. So I have to use something as a reference, something that can help you understand how to at least know when to take your day of rest. Just because the creation calendar days land on the same day the Gregorian calls Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, just because that happens, it does not mean that Saturday is the Sabbath or Friday is the Sabbath. And if you pay attention, as I make you aware, each Sabbath month that comes, I will let you know the day of the new moon. From that day, if you just remember, start counting your days on the second day or the day after the new moon. You'll never go wrong. Shalom.